Forget the story you were told. Forget ancient hatreds and tribal warfare. The truth of Rwanda is far more chilling. Imagine a kingdom nestled in 1,000 hills. One people, one language, one culture, ruled by a king, the Mwami. Here, Hutu and Tutsi weren't tribes. They were labels: your job, your wealth. Hutu, a farmer bound to the earth. Tutsi, a cattle keeper, a sign of prosperity. And you could cross the line. A successful farmer could acquire cattle and become Tutsi. A struggling Tutsi could lose his herd and become Hutu. Your identity wasn't in your blood, it was in your herd, a fluid, living society. Then the map drawers arrived. First Germany, then Belgium. Obsessed with race, they brought with them a bizarre, racist fantasy, the Hamitic hypothesis. They decided the taller, finer-featured Tutsi were a superior, lost, white tribe from Ethiopia destined to rule. The Hutu, an inferior native race meant to serve. To prove this madness, they measured skulls. They measured noses. They measured height. And with cold ink on a government stamp, they turned a social class into a racial prison. Your identity was now permanent, fixed on an ID card you had to carry for life. The Belgians empowered a Tutsi elite, giving them access to education and power while systematically excluding the Hutu majority. They didn't just observe a divide, they engineered one. Decades of forced inequality created a powder keg of resentment. By the 1950s, with independence movements sweeping Africa, the Belgians did the unthinkable. They switched sides. They began backing the Hutu majority to retain influence. In 1959, the Hutu revolution exploded. Thousands of Tutsi were killed, and over 100,000 were driven into exile in Uganda, Burundi, and Congo. A generation was born in refugee camps, their parents' homeland a story, their anger a birthright. In Uganda, these exiles formed the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the RPF. Their goal, to fight their way back home. In 1990, they invaded. Inside Rwanda, extremist Hutu leaders used the invasion to stoke paranoia and hatred. Then, on April 6, 1994, the plane carrying President Habyarimana was shot down. It was the spark. Radio stations began broadcasting extermination orders, calling the Tutsi cockroaches that must be wiped out. In just 100 days, the world watched as nearly 1 million people were slaughtered with machetes, clubs, and guns. But the end of the genocide was the beginning of another nightmare. As the RPF took control, 2 million Hutu, terrified of reprisal and including many who committed genocide, fled into neighboring Congo. The militias who led the killing, the Interahamwe, went with them, hiding in the refugee camps. This massive human flood destabilized the entire region, planting the seeds for 2 decades of war in the Congo that would kill millions more. So, the story isn't Hutu versus Tutsi. It's the story of a lie, a colonial lie weaponized by local extremists, a lie that burned a nation and scarred a continent. History isn't mysterious, it's manufactured, and we are still living in its shadow.